Entire screen. Yeah, just don't throw the bottle away. Just refill it. Okay, so page 703 in your math book, right? So we've been talking about how we classify triangles, right? With the angle and then the side, right? So you look at the angles and you look at the sides, that's how you classify it, right? And then if you add the angles on the inside of a triangle, what number do you get? If you add all the angles on the inside of a triangle, you get a specific number. What number is that? 180 degrees. So if you add all the angles of a triangle, you get 180 degrees. And then yesterday we talked about isosceles triangles, how you have congruent sides and you have congruent angles, right? So the angle opposite the congruent side. So an isosceles triangle has the same sides, the same angle, right? And a equilateral triangle is also an equal angular triangle because it has the same angles, right? And 6 times 3 is 18, so you have 180 degrees, right? Equal sides, equal angles. Okay. So now we're going to talk about, there's only like two pages, and then we'll set up for the quiz. So triangle inequalities. So Caleb has 3 lengths of wood, 7 feet, 2 feet, and 10 feet. He would like to build a ramp using those 3 lengths. Can he create a triangular ramp? Okay, so it says using a ruler, draw a line that is 10 centimeters. So you can just kind of eyeball this. Or you can just, so if I take a ruler and I go 10 centimeters, right? There's 10 centimeters. And then from one endpoint, draw a 7 centimeter line. So I want to put the end here. I'm going to draw a 7 centimeter line. And then it says from the other endpoint, draw a 2 centimeter line. So I'm going to put my 2 there. I'm going to draw. Okay, that's what I get. So it says, what do you notice about the 2 sides that are 7 centimeters and 2 centimeters in relation to the third side? Right? So what do you notice, right? They don't meet, right? You don't make a triangle. So they are not long enough. They are, I need to zoom in. Hang on a second. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so I have this. So they are not long enough to meet at the top. Okay, number 3, analyze, is Caleb able to build a ramp using the boards that are 7 feet and 3 feet and 10 feet? No, he cannot build a ramp. The boards would not meet to make a triangle. Boards will not meet to make a triangle. Okay, number 4. It says, what is the shortest whole number length the 2-foot board should be in order for a triangle with the 7-foot and 10-foot boards? And up here they're saying 1 centimeter is equal to 1 foot. So if I take my ruler and I put it, centimeters, and I put one end on the end of that board and I go over here, I notice that it'd take 4 feet. So you need a 4-foot board, 4-foot board to make a ramp. Okay? Okay, so let's turn the page, 704. Okay, so at the top page it says triangle inequalities, right? And we remember inequalities is that little triangle thing, right? So you have greater than or equal to, or greater than less than. That's what we're talking about. We're using these inequalities to describe a relationship with a triangle. So the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle must be greater than the length of the third, right? So we have 3 different inequalities here, right? We have side A, side B, and side C. So side A plus side B has to be greater than C. And side A plus side C has to be greater than B. And side B plus side C has to be greater than A. So you have 3 different inequalities, and all 3 of those conditions have to be true for you to have a triangle. So when a triangle is formed, any two sides must have a sum greater than the third. If any two sides do not have a sum greater than the third side, then the triangle cannot be formed. So let's look at our example here. It says, determine if the side lengths given form a triangle, justify your response. So we have 14 inches, 17 inches, and 25 inches. So we're going to take our 3 inequalities and see if we meet that, right? So I'm going to take 14 plus 17 and see if it's greater than 25. So 14 plus 17 is 31. That is greater than 25. That meets that condition. Now I'm going to take 17 plus 25 and see if it's bigger than 14. 17 plus 25 is 42. 42 is greater than 14. That is true. Okay, then I'm going to take 14 plus 25. Sure. 14 plus 25, is that greater than 17? 14 plus 25 is 39. 39 is greater than 17. So all those 3 conditions have been met. All 3 inequalities are true. So this is a triangle. This is a triangle. Okay, let's look at number 2. Here we're using decimals. I mean, you were using, decimals. Okay, so I have 4.1 centimeters, 2.2 centimeters, 8.3 centimeters. Now I have to check those 3 conditions, right? So I'm going to take 4.1 plus 2.2. Is that greater than 8.3? 4.1 plus 2.2 is 6.3. 6.3 is not greater than 8.3. So guess what? This is not a triangle. This is not a triangle. You have to meet all 3 conditions or all 3 inequalities for it to be true. Okay, so here at the bottom, it says determine if the side lengths given from a triangle justify their response. So we have 3 different lengths here. We're going to call this A, we're going to call this B, we're going to call this C, right? So the 3 different inequalities you have to satisfy, right, is right up here. Sorry. A plus B is greater than C, A plus C is greater than B, and B plus C is greater than A. So I'm going to write these for you. A plus B is greater than C, then A plus C is greater than B, and B plus C is greater than A. So I want you to take these three dimensions and plug them into your three inequalities and see if you get a triangle or not. Okay? Hey, Google, set a timer for 1 minute. Google. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, just take a minute and plug that into those three inequalities and see what you get. 1 minute. Okay. So let's see what we got. So if we take A plus B is greater than C, so I have 6 plus 6 is greater than 12. Is that true? Is 6 plus 6 greater than 12? No, it's not. It's equal to, but it's not greater than. So guess what? That is not, A is not a triangle. You have to meet all three conditions for that to be true. Okay? So that's that one. B, let's go ahead and do it with B. So take your 7.2 meters, 8.9 meters, and 11.3 meters and plug it into your three inequalities. See if that is a triangle. Hey, Google, set a timer for 1 minute.
All right, 1 minute, starting now.
Now you want to work. Plug your numbers in, see if your inequalities are true. You writing this in your book, Jacob? You take your three numbers and figure out whether it's a triangle. You have to satisfy all three. Hey, Google, stop. Okay, so let's try this. So we've got the first one is 7.2 plus 8.9 is greater than 11.3. So let's see, 7.2 plus 8.9, 9, 10, 11, carry the 1, that's 8, that's 16.1. So 16.1 is greater than 11.3. Yes, that's true. Now we're going to look at A plus C is greater than B. So A, which is 7.2, A plus C plus 11.3 is greater than 8.9. So 7.2 plus 11.3, 2 plus 3, that's 5, 7, that's 18, that's 18.5. So 18.5 is greater than 8.9. That is true. Now we've got B plus C is greater than A. So that's 8.9. 8.9 plus 11.3 is greater than 7.2. Okay, so now we're going to add up 8.9 plus 11.3, 9, 10, 11, 12. Put down the 2, carry the 1, that's a 9. That makes that 10. That makes that 20.2. So 20.2 is greater than 7.2. Yep, that's correct. So B is a triangle. This is a triangle. Okay? So when you satisfy these three inequalities, you have a triangle. If one does not work, it's not gonna work. Okay, next page. Order sides and angles of triangles. In the previous lesson, you learned that if a triangle is isosceles, right? What's an isosceles triangle? It has two equal sides. That's what an isosceles triangle is. Then the angles opposite the congruent sides are congruent. So if you have two equal sides, the angles opposite those two congruent sides have congruent or the same angle. Since all three sides are congruent in an equilateral triangle, right? Equilateral means all three sides are the same. Since all three sides are congruent, all three angles are congruent, right? In a scalene triangle, what's a scalene triangle, Jacob?
Scalene triangle.
Are you okay? Okay.
Scalene triangle is care to explain it?
What?
Care to explain it?
You want me to explain it for you?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. I'd be happy to do that. So a scalene triangle means none of the three sides are equal. They're all three different dimensions. So in a scalene triangle, there's a special relationship between the longest side and the largest angle, and the shortest side and the smallest angle. So in a scalene triangle, you have two here, right? This is the longest side of the scalene triangle. It is opposite the largest angle. So the longest side is opposite the largest angle. And the smallest side is also opposite the smallest angle. So this angle here is the smallest angle, and it's opposite the shortest side. Or the longest side is opposite the largest angle. Notice that the largest angle is opposite the longest side. Similarly, the smallest angle is opposite the shortest side. You can order the sides and angles based on these relationships. Okay? So, just by knowing the sides, you know what the angles are. You may not know exactly what they are, but you know what size they are. So in this example here, order the sides of the triangle from least to greatest by the side length. Okay? So if we look at our angles, right, the smallest angle we have is 53. The side opposite this angle, which is this angle right here, is the smallest side. The next biggest angle is 62 degrees. So the next biggest side is over here. I'll put N for next. And 65 degrees is the largest angle. So this would be the longest side. So now if I put that in order, and the way you would identify this side is you're using your letters, right? So you would put RT because you're starting at R and going to T. You could go from T to R, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And then you put a line over it. So the line segment RT is the smallest. The next size of the next segment is RS. So I put RS and put a line over it. So segment RS is the next biggest side. And the longest side is opposite angle R is segment TS. So I put TS and put a line over it. So that just says that segment. You can flip the letters if you want. It's not wrong. Okay, number 4. Now let's look at the sides. Order the angles of the triangle from least to greatest measure. Okay, so now they're just giving us the sides, right? Well, this is the smallest side. So that means this angle here is the smallest angle. The next biggest side is 12 inches. So that means this is the next biggest angle. And then 13 is the longest side, so this is the longest, or this is the biggest angle here, okay? So if we put them in order from least to greatest, right, it's angle, and they do this, they just put a little triangle. It's not like an inequality sign, it's more kind of like, you know, an inequality is more on its side. This is kind of like that. It's kind of more flat, but that symbol means an angle. So angle N is the smallest angle. Then the next biggest angle is M, and the largest angle is angle L. So just by knowing the sides, you can identify the appropriate angle. Okay? So the bottom of the page, I have a scaling triangle. I have 3 different angles. And why don't you order the sides from least to greatest? Least to greatest. Okay? So why don't you go ahead and do that with C? So you're looking at the side opposite the angle. We'll identify that side. Hey, Google, can you set a timer for 1 minute?
All right, 1 minute, starting now.
So work on C. Order the sides, but from least to greatest. What time do we have? Hmm. Hey, Google, stop. Okay, so let's look at our scaling triangle here. The smallest angle we have is 29 degrees. So the side opposite that angle is this. So this is the smallest side. Then our next biggest angle is 38. So this is the next biggest side. And 113 degrees is our biggest angle. So this is going to be our biggest side. So now if we put them in order from smallest to biggest, where our segment AB is the smallest side. So AB, put a line over it. That segment is the smallest. The next biggest is BC. So we put a segment over that. And then our biggest side is AC. So AC segment. So now those are ordered in least to greatest. Okay, so now we have this triangle where they've just given us the length of the sides. We can figure out which angle is biggest. So now why don't you do the angles? Do the angles from least to greatest. Hey, Google, set a timer for 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute, starting now.
Hey, Google, stop. Okay, so we have our sides. Our smallest side is this. It's 1.2 millimeters. So we know the angle opposite that, which is this, is the smallest angle. The next side, the next biggest side is this 1.9. Opposite of that is this angle. So that's the next biggest angle. And this is our largest side. And so we know opposite of that is the biggest angle. So now if we put them in order from least to greatest, angle Z is the smallest. Then angle X is the next biggest angle. And angle Y is our largest angle. Okay? So that's just with scaling triangles. Okay? Okay. So now I'm going to do the quiz. So there's 5 questions on this week's quiz. So it starts off on page 692. Okay, so this is page 692. The first question is number 19. And the question is, a triangular sticker has side lengths of 5 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 5 centimeters. How can the triangle be classified? So if you draw yourself a picture, that might be helpful. And you know this is 5, and this is 5, and this is 4. So it says, how can that triangle be classified? So if you need help with that, right, you can look at page, what page is that? Page 686. So you can look at page 686, and that will help you classify that if you need it. The next question on your quiz is number 20. It says a semi-truck is hauling a portion of historic home to the town square. The truck cannot make a turn less than 45 degrees. Can the truck make the turn from point A to point B? Explain your response. So here's A, here's B. It's got to make this turn like here. We need to know what this angle is. Okay? Well, you know that all the internal angles of a triangle equal 180 degrees. So if you take 64 plus 64 plus x equals 180, right? So you can figure out what x is, right? When you find that out, you will know whether that truck can do that turn or not, okay? Okay, that's 20. 21. What is the value of y in the diagram below? So let's look what we got. We got 63 degrees. We have a right angle, which is 90 degrees. Okay. We know we can find this angle, right? Because that's 63 plus 90 plus this, we'll put an x there, plus x is equal to 180 degrees. So you can find x, but that doesn't help you find this. So how many degrees is if I go from here all the way over to here? What does that look like? What if I continued it over here? What if I continued it over here? How many degrees would I have that way? What do I have here? I have a circle, right? How many degrees are in a circle? There's 360 degrees in a circle. So what's half of a 360? That means this is 180 degrees. So you're going to take x, when you find x, you're going to take 180 minus x, and that's going to be your answer. Okay? Because really all that is a half a circle. And that'll give you this. When you do that, you'll get this distance. Once you find this out, you'll subtract it from 180, right? That's here. you'll find out what this distance is. Okay, that's 21. Now we're going to go to page 700. 700, question number, the next question is 13. It says delta is the fourth letter, delta is the fourth letter in the Greek alphabet. The symbol of this letter is an isosceles triangle. Determine the value of y in this triangle. So an isosceles triangle, we know that these two sides are congruent. We know that both angles are congruent in an isosceles triangle. So we know this angle is 70 degrees. So now we can write an equation, y plus 25.75 is equal to 70. Okay. So if you need help to figure out how to do that, you can go to page 694. And there's an example of exactly doing that very same problem. Okay. Okay, that's 13. Number 14 is the next question. It says, each of the students in the table were given a set of toothpicks to create a triangle. Only one of these students was able to create an equilateral triangle. Equilateral means all three sides are the same. Three sides are the same. Okay. A triangle using their toothpicks. Which student was able to make an equilateral triangle and how many toothpicks were used for each side of the triangle? You don't have to worry about this. You just tell me who can make an equilateral triangle. How many sides does a triangle have, Jacob?
It has 3.
Very good. So, yeah, very good. So you're going to have to look at these toothpicks that each one of these people had, and you're going to have to divide it by 3. And that will tell you whether they can make a triangle or not, right? Because equilateral means the same number on all 3 sides. Okay, so that is your quiz. How much time we have left? 5 minutes. Okay, so don't forget you've got a Generation Genius, you have Ed Puzzle, you have a quiz. Okay. If you're missing some stuff, please check Focus. I'll be setting up the Zap sheet tonight, probably around 6 o'clock when I get home. So you have time.